Let's be unambiguous. The genuine hazard isn't the individual casting daggers with their eyes from afar. It's the one offering a saccharine smile, chuckling at my jokes, perhaps even fetching my coffee, all while secretly desiring my utter disappearance. Sounds theatrical, possibly. Yet reality often proves more peculiar and far more unnerving than fiction. At this very moment, someone in my sphere could be engineering my ruin, and I might remain entirely unaware until it's too late. You see, hatred is relatively simple to identify, but murderous intent donning a disguise, a courteous, appealing, Instagram-polished facade, is far more treacherous. And the most alarming aspect? Most individuals fail to notice the signs until they are already ensnared in the aftermath. This video isn't crafted to induce fear. Its aim is survival. What I'm about to impart are 5 chilling yet frequently overlooked indicators suggesting someone doesn't merely dislike me, they wish me gone, as in permanently removed from existence. These aren't mere hunches or conspiracy theories. They represent tangible behaviors substantiated by psychological patterns, and recognizing them could potentially save my life or the life of someone else. So, before we delve into the somber details, do yourself a favor. Click the subscribe button, because following this, your perception of friendly will undergo a permanent transformation. Ready? Let's begin. Sign 1. The Silent Observer. Let's commence with one of the most deeply unsettling and dangerously disregarded indicators that someone in my life may harbor intentions beyond mere animosity, potentially desiring my demise. I label this archetype the Silent Observer. This isn't just an idle social media browser or the neighborhood informant with excessive time. No, this represents something far more deliberate, calculated, and sinister. These individuals don't simply watch me, they meticulously study me. They commit my schedule to memory, analyze my routines, and gather data with a precision more akin to military reconnaissance than casual curiosity. And they execute this with such subtlety, such quietude, that most people fail to notice until intervention is too late. Consider this. Someone knows my coffee preference despite never having discussed it. They materialize at my usual park, my gym, the supermarket, but consistently coincide with my presence. It initially feels like happenstance until the pattern becomes undeniable. What makes this especially perilous is its frequent dismissal, as we are often conditioned to disregard subtle recurring patterns as unfounded paranoia. Yet predators capitalize on that very hesitation. They exploit my self-doubt. I once heard of a woman named Christine, a mid-level manager who initially dismissed the peculiar timing of her ex-boyfriend's presence at her regular locations. Their relationship had concluded months earlier. She surmised he was perhaps merely struggling to move on. But as time passed, she observed his presence wasn't just coincidental. He anticipated her locations before her arrival. She had changed gyms, adopted a new commute, even patronized different grocery outlets. Yet, each time he reappeared, no confrontation, no threats, just silent, consistent observation. Her friends attributed it to obsession, but what they overlooked, and what she ultimately recognized, was that it wasn't obsession. It constituted premeditation. This pattern of behavior isn't related to reconciliation or achieving closure. It pertains to control. It's about minimizing unpredictability prior to initiating action. Philosophers like Epictetus frequently cautioned against assuming appearances are innocuous. He taught that the wise person remains watchful, not only of others, but vigilant concerning their own sense of peace and order. When something disrupts that order, particularly in the form of an individual possessing excessive knowledge or appearing too frequently without justification, investigation, not excuse, is warranted. We inhabit a hyper-connected era where surveillance doesn't require overt means like a parked van. It necessitates access through social media, shared acquaintances, routines, and habits insufficiently guarded. And the most dangerous individuals aren't those lashing out publicly, but those offering polite smiles while meticulously documenting my every action. This isn't about fear, it's about discernment. The Stoics taught that wisdom begins with clear observation and concludes with decisive action. If someone repeatedly appears in my life lacking a clear rationale, especially when I've made no effort to invite them, that isn't fate. It constitutes a red flag. I must pay attention to these patterns, question the coincidences, and above all, heed my instincts. My discomfort isn't overthinking, it's insight. When my spirit feels unsettled, I shouldn't second-guess it. I must honor it, because sometimes the most frightening people aren't those who threaten me directly. They're the ones studying me in silence, awaiting the moment I let my guard down. Sign 2. The Saboteur Strategy. Here's a disquieting fact. Studies in social psychology demonstrate that when a person encounters a falsehood about someone else, even if it's later refuted, their perception of that individual remains negatively impacted. Such is the power of suggestion. And that potency is precisely what makes the Saboteur strategy so hazardous. When someone desires more than mere vengeance, when they are unsatisfied with causing me hurt and aim for my isolation, they begin waging war, not only against me, but against my entire support network. This transcends petty gossip. It constitutes a quiet campaign of character assassination, orchestrated with such finesse that by the time I recognize the pattern, the damage is already inflicted. They move like shadows, whispering insinuations into the right ears at opportune moments. To my boss, they might subtly imply unreliability. To my friends, they suggest I've changed or become toxic. Direct accusations are avoided. That would be too obvious. Instead, they plant seeds of suspicion, doubt, misunderstanding. And because each incident appears isolated, each situation unrelated, no one realizes they form part of a larger scheme. Even I might begin questioning my own stability. After all, why does everything seem to deteriorate concurrently? That captures the essence of this strategy: calculated fragmentation. These individuals don't act impulsively. They act with intent. They orchestrate conflicts to portray me as unstable. They manipulate events behind the scenes to ensure my discrediting in both professional and personal spheres. They adopt the guise of victims or, worse, concerned allies while surreptitiously eroding the trust others place in me. Their objective isn't merely to tarnish my image. It aims to sever my connections to support systems, ensuring that when the ultimate blow lands, I stand utterly alone. From a Stoic perspective, this tactic is particularly insidious because it targets the very foundation Stoicism encourages cultivating: inner fortitude supported by rational clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." However, when a saboteur is active, the obstacle isn't a challenge fostering growth. It's a toxic miasma obscuring my path. And if I am not cautious, I risk reacting instead of reflecting. I get drawn into the drama, attempting to assert innocence, justify actions, or clear my name, only to find that increased speech paradoxically increases suspicion. Hence, awareness serves as my primary defense. I shouldn't chase every rumor. Instead, I must ground myself in verifiable evidence. Maintain integrity, but also protect myself strategically. Document everything meticulously: emails, messages, timelines. Keep my truth sharp and my circle deliberately chosen. Most importantly, I must remember what the Stoics and Scripture both affirm. Character reveals itself over time, not during moments of turmoil. People might be temporarily swayed, but truth, like the spirit, possesses enduring resilience. So, when someone operates like an unseen force behind my conflicts, consistently present yet never directly implicated, it's time to cease granting them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not merely contending with a manipulator. I'm confronting a strategist bent on destruction. And the initial step towards prevailing in that struggle involves refusing to participate in their manipulative game. Sign 3. The false friend facade. This is where the situation becomes particularly ominous. The third, and perhaps most treacherous sign indicating someone harbors more than hatred and might be covertly planning my demise, is the false friend facade. It ranks among the most ancient tactics in human history, yet remains one of the most difficult to anticipate. We've been culturally conditioned to perceive kindness invariably as a virtue, warmth and proximity as indicators of loyalty. But when someone abruptly transitions from distant acquaintance to deeply involved friend, especially lacking clear justification or shared emotional history, vigilance, not celebration, is warranted. These individuals aren't endeavoring to earn my trust. They are strategically building access. What appears as concern often constitutes a calculated performance. They begin posing detailed inquiries regarding my schedule, relationships, fears, even past traumas. Their intent isn't to facilitate healing, it's intelligence gathering. They integrate themselves with my family, frequent my workplace, perhaps even assist with errands or personal matters. Their objective isn't support, it's surveillance. And every confidence shared becomes another instrument in their arsenal, another point of leverage, another vulnerability ripe for exploitation. What makes this profoundly sinister is the initial positive feeling it evokes. Finally, I feel seen. Someone genuinely wants to listen, understand, assist. Yet, behind that comforting demeanor operates a cold, strategic intellect, meticulously mapping my world with surgical precision. They aren't cultivating a friendship. They are designing the most efficient pathway to compromise every vulnerable point in my life. From a Stoic perspective, this scenario is especially chilling. Seneca cautioned, "A friend is someone you trust with your soul." But trust, he asserted, must be earned, not given freely to anyone who smiles and listens. The Stoics taught that discernment, sophrosyne, or wise moderation served as the key to emotional security. If someone rapidly integrates into my life, if their interest feels overly intense, abrupt, or excessively personal, I must pause and scrutinize. What is their true motive? It's easy to mistake familiarity for friendship, a vulnerability predators readily exploit. They will mirror my language, echo my emotions, even share selectively vulnerable personal anecdotes just enough to lower my guard. Meanwhile, they meticulously catalog my information like an operative compiling a target profile. And because they are cloaked in charm and apparent empathy, no one in my vicinity suspects, not even myself until it's potentially too late. So here's the necessary course of action. Decelerate the relationship's progression. Guard my privacy as though my peace hinges upon it, because it does. I must question why someone suddenly seeks access to aspects of my life previously unheeded. Genuine friendship develops gradually, whereas sabotage often lurks within accelerated intimacy. Trust isn't solely about who induces feelings of safety. It's about who ensures my safety when my attention is elsewhere. The false friend desires not just my loyalty, but my weaknesses, and the moment sufficient vulnerabilities are gathered, they will know precisely where to inflict maximum damage. Therefore, yes, practice kindness, exude warmth, but remain judicious. Because when malevolence adopts a friendly guise, it isn't connection, it's camouflage. Sign 4. Escalating aggression. The fourth deadly indicator, and one most horrifyingly disregarded, is a phenomenon I term calculated escalation. When an individual harbors intentions exceeding mere hatred, they seldom initiate with overt violence. Instead, they probe boundaries, gradually acclimating me to tolerate behavior that progressively darkens and becomes more menacing. It frequently commences with subtle forms of aggression, off-the-cuff remarks masking disturbing implications, comments like, "I could kill you right now," followed by laughter, or casual references to violence intended to appear humorous or provocative. But let there be no misunderstanding. These are not merely remarks in poor taste. They represent deliberate tests designed to gauge my fear threshold and boundary resilience. Allow me to recount a case that continues to send shivers down the spines of experienced investigators. In 2016, a young woman named Leah relocated to a new apartment complex upon securing her first post-collegiate employment. There, she encountered Adam, a neighbor who seemed slightly awkward yet sufficiently amicable. Over time, Adam began frequenting her vicinity more often, offering assistance with groceries, joining her during elevator rides, posing unusually specific questions about her daily routines. Then, one day during a small building gathering, he made a comment that struck attendees as peculiar but not immediately threatening. He quipped about possessing the traits of a perfect killer due to his knowledge of evidence disposal. Everyone dismissed it with laughter. Leah, feeling slightly unsettled, shrugged it off. However, the situation began to evolve. Adam started encroaching upon her physical space, excessively close. He would appear in hallways precisely when she departed for work, brushing against her shoulder without apology. On one occasion, he physically obstructed her apartment entrance under the guise of needing conversation. Then occurred the incident that altered everything irrevocably. One evening, Leah discovered a hunting knife placed neatly upon her doormat. No accompanying note, no explanation, simply the weapon. Upon reporting it, authorities initially dismissed the incident as a prank. But Leah did not. She installed a security camera outside her door, changed her locks, and began meticulously documenting every interaction. Within a month, recorded footage captured Adam attempting to pick her lock at 2 a.m., wearing gloves and carrying what appeared to be a black duffel bag. He was apprehended, and subsequent investigation uncovered a detailed journal documenting Leah's movements, preferred locations, and a timeline ominously labeled execution window. This reveals the terrifying truth. Violent individuals often initiate with seemingly harmless actions to desensitize their targets. What appears as a jest or an accidental physical contact frequently forms part of a larger psychological manipulation. The Stoics warned that we must cultivate minds prepared to anticipate potential malevolence, not out of fear, but from a place of awareness. Seneca stated, "He who is forewarned is forearmed." Therefore, if someone in my life consistently transgresses boundaries and dismisses it lightly, I must pay close attention. If their jests contain veiled threats, if they increasingly test my personal space, or if they seem focused on observing my reactions rather than genuinely connecting, that isn't a mere personality idiosyncrasy. That constitutes a critical warning sign. And ignoring it could cost far more than just peace of mind. It could cost my life. Sign 5. The patient predator. Now we arrive at the fifth, and unquestionably most perilous, indicator that someone might desire my demise, the patient predator. This individual isn't characterized by angry outbursts, obvious threats, or erratic conduct. No, this represents the coldest form of adversary, the one concealing intentions behind the passage of time. Their strength lies not in immediate violence, but in patience. These individuals eschew quick revenge or heated confrontations. They engage in what Stoic philosophers might term the long game, a strategic endeavor where every action is meticulously calculated, rehearsed, and timed for optimal impact. They possess the capacity to wait months, even years, for precisely the right opportunity. And by that point, most individuals have entirely lowered their defenses. What renders them terrifying isn't their actions, but their apparent normalcy. They don't trigger alarms. They cultivate trust. They inquire about my future plans, not driven by genuine care, but by strategic foresight. They seek knowledge regarding my travel schedules, potential relocations, moments of solitude. Every conversation serves as data acquisition. Every favor rendered, every connection fostered, it all contributes to constructing a false sense of security. They might manifest as my reliable coworker, the neighbor tending my plants during absences, or the friend remembering my birthday with greater accuracy than my own family. Yet beneath that composed exterior resides an individual rehearsing the perfect act of betrayal. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, cautioned that our most significant threats aren't overtly visible. They lie in what we overlook while assuming the world operates according to fairness. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do, he wrote. But when dealing with someone adept at wearing a flawless mask, perception is deliberately crafted to mislead. Their life becomes a performance. Their kindness serves as bait. The most frightening aspect? These individuals seldom err. They await my error. For the single instance my routine falters, my support network weakens, my defenses lapse. That is their moment to strike. And because I trusted them, I never anticipated the blow. So what measures can I take? Exercise caution in extending deep trust, especially towards those seemingly accelerating intimacy without clear justification. Guard my plans closely. Maintain the sanctity of my boundaries. Kindness remains possible, but I must not equate kindness with unrestricted access. The Stoic within me must remain vigilant even when circumstances appear benign, especially then. Now let's confront this with brutal honesty. If any of these 5 signs brought a specific person to mind, I must not dismiss it. I must not persuade myself that I am overreacting, because encountering the silent observer, the saboteur, the false friend, the escalating aggressor, or the patient predator in my life signifies dealing with more than mere negativity. I am potentially situated within the crosshairs of something considerably darker. Therefore, before concluding this video, undertake 2 actions. Save it, as revisiting these signs might prove necessary when my instincts again sound a warning. Watch the subsequent video concerning the identification of covert narcissists, because these 5 deadly tactics frequently coincide with deeply manipulative personality structures. Remember, knowledge constitutes my initial shield, but decisive action is paramount for survival. Stay sharp, stay guarded, and above all else, stay alive. Let's be real. If my gut has been signaling that something is amiss, this video likely just provided the confirmation I perhaps resisted but urgently required. These 5 signs, they transcend mere drama. They pertain to survival, because someone harboring simple dislike might merely express disdain. But someone desiring my permanent removal, they study, sabotage, smile, escalate, and patiently wait. That isn't pettiness. That's predatory behavior. So if one particular nice individual unexpectedly surfaced in my thoughts while watching this, I must not disregard that feeling. My instincts serve a crucial purpose. As the adage suggests, malevolence doesn't arrive adorned with obvious indicators. It often appears cloaked in everything I ever desired to trust. If this struck uncomfortably close, perform 2 actions immediately. Subscribe to this channel to consistently stay informed and prepared. Share this content with someone potentially unaware, because knowledge serves as the primary line of defense. Sharing it might also contribute to saving another person's life. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and remember, it isn't paranoia if they are genuinely orchestrating your downfall. Trust judiciously, and I will connect with you in the next one.